You ever get that feeling in your gut that something's off? Like, you don't have hard evidence, but things just aren't adding up? That's how I felt with Emma. We'd been engaged for 6 months. I was deep into wedding planning, thinking about our future, doing all the things a committed man does. But something changed. She started talking about this guy from work, Brian. At first, it was casual. "Brian's so funny," she'd say. Or, "Brian helped me with this project, he's a lifesaver." Okay, cool. I get it. People have friends at work. But then, it got excessive. One night, we were watching a movie. She got a text, smirked, and just kept texting. I leaned over. "Who's that?" "Brian." That was the first ping of alarm. The second, the way she said his name. That little inflection. The kind a woman uses when she likes the attention she's getting. So I did what any sane man would do. I started paying attention. And the more I watched, the more obvious it became. She'd talk about him constantly. They had inside jokes. She'd dress up a little nicer on work days, but downplay it like it was just a normal day. And the worst part, she started pulling away from me. So one night, I asked the question, "Emma, be real with me. What's the deal with Brian?" She laughed, like I was being ridiculous. "Oh my God, babe, it's nothing. He's just my work husband." "You're what?" She rolled her eyes. "It's a joke. You know, like a guy at work you're close with. But it's totally platonic." I just stared at her. A joke. Right. So I leaned in. "Would you be cool if I had a work wife?" She scoffed. "That's different. Guys don't need work wives." Oh. That's when I knew. She thought she could have her little special connection, her flirty friendship, her emotional safety net, without consequences. And that's when I decided, if she could have a work husband, I'd get myself a work wife. And I'd make damn sure she found out. What happened next? Let's just say, she wasn't laughing anymore. See, I wasn't going to argue. Wasn't going to beg. Wasn't going to complain about how inappropriate it was. No, I was going to show her. Enter Jessica. Jessica worked in another department. Smart, gorgeous, confident, the type of woman who turned heads without even trying. We'd always been cool, but I never crossed a line because I was engaged. But now I had a reason to blur those lines. It started subtle, just little things. One morning, I made sure to casually mention Jessica over breakfast. "Yeah, Jess and I are working on this big project together. She's really sharp, keeps me on my toes." Emma barely reacted, just sipped her coffee. "All right, let's turn it up." Next, I started texting Jessica more. Not anything crazy, just work talk, a few jokes. But I made sure Emma saw my phone light up with her name. She noticed. "Who's that?" she asked one evening. I smirked. "Oh, just Jessica. She's hilarious." The same exact way she used to talk about Brian. And just like that, the first crack appeared. But I wasn't done. The next step? I needed Emma to see the connection. Feel it. So one night, I accidentally left my phone unlocked. Just for a second. Long enough for her to glance down and see a text from Jessica pop up. "I had fun today, can't wait for tomorrow." Was it flirty? Maybe. Was it intentional? Hell yes. Emma tensed. Now, let me be clear, I wasn't cheating. I wasn't crossing any real boundaries. But I was mirroring every single thing she'd been doing with Brian. And let me tell you, when the tables turn, the view looks a whole lot different. That weekend, Emma finally snapped. We were lying in bed when she turned to me, fake casual. "So, you and Jessica have gotten close, huh?" I shrugged. "Yeah, she's kind of like my work wife." I could feel the energy shift. The way she suddenly wasn't so relaxed anymore. She exhaled sharply. "You do realize that sounds bad, right?" I almost laughed. "Oh, now it's bad?" I turned to her, met her gaze, and hit her with the same exact line she used on me. "Babe, it's nothing. Totally platonic." The way her face twisted in frustration? Pure satisfaction. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because what happened next? That's when she really started to panic. Why? Because I gave her a taste of her own medicine. Jessica, my so-called work wife, was making an impact. And Emma felt it. But you know what they say, the game's not over until someone quits. Let's see how far Emma's willing to play before she breaks. It didn't take long before Emma started acting different. At first, it was subtle. She started asking about my work schedule more, who I was working with, where I'd be, questions she never cared about before. Then the little jab started. Wow, you and Jessica seem really busy these days. I'd just shrug. Yeah, she's great to work with. And that answer drove her insane. The tipping point came at a work event, an evening mixer. Spouses were welcome, and Emma insisted on coming. Perfect. I made sure to get there first. Dressed sharp, looking my best. And when Jessica walked in, she greeted me with a hug, a totally normal hug. But Emma? Oh, Emma felt that hug. The entire night she hovered. Arms crossed, eyes darting between me and Jessica. I could see the tension in her jaw, the way she held onto my arm just a little tighter when Jessica laughed at one of my jokes. And then, the moment that sealed it. Jessica, being her friendly, outgoing self, reached across the table and touched my hand for half a second while making a point about something. It was innocent, casual. But Emma? She nearly choked on her drink. And that's when I knew. She wasn't just uncomfortable anymore. She was threatened. I wasn't even interested in Jessica like that. But I wanted Emma to feel it. That slow, creeping insecurity. That doubt. That thing she never considered when she was texting Brian all those late nights. And then it happened. That night, as soon as we got home, Emma exploded. Are you into her? She snapped, arms crossed, pacing the room. I leaned against the doorway, calm. Into who? Oh, don't play dumb, Nathan. Jessica, your little work wife. The irony was almost too much. I tilted my head. Why does it bother you? Her eyes narrowed. Because it's weird. I just smiled. Oh, weird, huh? The same way it was weird when you and Brian were calling each other work husband and work wife? Boom. She froze. Mouth opening. Closing. No words. Because she knew. She knew she had no argument. No defense. For the first time, Emma felt the consequences of her actions. And I was just getting started. That night, after Emma had her little meltdown over Jessica, something changed. I could see it in the way she looked at me, uncertainty, doubt, maybe even fear. She wasn't sure where she stood anymore. And for the first time in a long time, that felt good. The next morning, Emma woke up early, cooked breakfast, tried to act normal. I just played along. But the tension? Oh, it was thick. Then mid-bite, she asked casually, so, you and Jessica, you guys text a lot. I sipped my coffee. Yeah, she's great to talk to. Silence. That was when I knew Emma was spiraling. And it only got worse. She started getting clingy. What time are you coming home? Why didn't you answer my text earlier? Are you free for lunch today? I was thinking we could meet up. The same woman who used to roll her eyes when I asked to spend more time together? Now, she was chasing me. And I was making her wait. Then the final blow. One night, we were on the couch. Her head in my lap, fingers tracing lazy circles on my leg. She hesitated before asking, "Do you think we're still us?" I let a beat pass. Then another. Then I sighed. I don't know, Emma. Sometimes, I feel like I don't even recognize us anymore. Her breath hitched. Eyes wide. That panic settling in. Because this was her fear. Losing me. I could see the regret written all over her face. She reached for my hand, gripping it tighter. I don't want to lose you. And that's when I knew. She finally got it. The weight of what she had done, the way she made me feel, the months of dismissing me like I was soft, like I was nothing, it all clicked for her. I leaned down, brushing a hand through her hair. You know, Emma, it's funny. When I asked you about Brian, you called me paranoid. Told me I was overthinking things. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. But when the roles are reversed, when it's me getting attention, suddenly you're concerned. Silence. She was trapped. And then, in a barely there whisper, she said, "I'm sorry." I just smiled. Because that was all I needed. And that, my friends, is how you turn the tables. Emma thought she had control. Thought she could play with my emotions, brush off my concerns, treat me like an afterthought. But in the end, she was the one begging to stay in my world. And as for me, well, let's just say, once you taste power, it's hard to give it back.